Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Ty.
How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. We're back. It's
We're
2020.
back. Yes, it is.
After the break, how was your break?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Some travel with Wayfinders,
Yeah.
which was super fun.
Right.
Some personal travel, also really fun.
Yeah.
Adventures, going to new places.
And it was Italy?
Italy with Wayfinding.
Yeah.
And Croatia on my own afterwards.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Cool. So we are moving to a format where we're going to kind of throw you or ask you to throw us an anecdote of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just a little story from Wayfinding that kind of highlights what goes on here, what we're all about. So what would be your anecdote of the week this week?
Wow.
Or even, it doesn't have to be a week, it can be 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well,
although that would be
no,
great.
I'm so going for the last week because
Okay.
the last week was unique. I mean, kind of everything in the land of Wayfinding is a bit unique, but even for the land of Wayfinding, because we, for the very first time ever, started a winter cohort of students.
Right.
We've never done that before.
Yeah.
So they started a week ago. And gosh, one of the things we're realizing, so this is like, please send coffee. This new cohort,
Yeah.
more than any other cohort we've ever had.
They're hitting it.
They bring great energy, and maybe
that's
it's
why.
fueled by coffee. We've gone through so much coffee in the past
the
week.
energy's awesome.
Yeah, but maybe it's tied to the coffee.
That could be. But hey, let's
mean,
keep it flowing.
They make, they go in the kitchen, they've learned how to make the coffee. They make coffee, multiple pots every morning.
Right.
So we're running out of coffee every couple of days now, which is not normally how it has been here.
Yep. And every turn we run through the hey guys, wash your dishes. It's kind of awesome.
Oh, yeah. That hasn't taken hold yet.
Not yet. It reminds me. I mean, it's really cool. I think what's unique about Wayfinding is it's like a dorm house too. It's like it's communal living and communal learning, which I think is really cool, especially multi-generational. So
right.
And I remember being that kid who's I'm just going to leave this here and magically something will happen to my dish until your roommate or whoever holds you accountable and stacks the dishes on your bed or whatever unique. We don't have beds access to, but we'll figure out some ways to cleverly.
Well, and in their defense, they haven't been told yet.
Exactly.
They don't know this yet.
Right.
The new folks, the folks who've been here a little while, I think they're just if they're leaving stuff in the sink, we're gonna do it too.
Yeah, there could be little dish gnomes that come and clean the dishes. They don't know.
No, they don't know. They haven't been here long. They've only been here a week.
So I think we just tell them we don't have dish gnomes, and we'll figure it out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Maybe tomorrow we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The dish gnomes don't exist here.
Yeah.
No little...
Perfect. Oh my goodness, so true.
Yeah. So the energy's awesome. What kind of along those lines? What is inspiring you in the world of higher ed this week? Is there anything that's really lighting a fire for you?
Yeah, there's. I feel like we live in very interesting times with regard to higher education.
Yeah.
So much is changing rapidly, and people are just trying to make sense of it all. One of the things that I read an article a couple of articles actually along the same lines, and I hadn't really seen this before. But all of these researchers track statistics on the percentage of high school graduates who choose to go to college afterwards.
Right.
And these articles are talking about how it's declining. And the one I saw most recently said about a decade ago, it was 70% of high school students go on to college.
Right.
About 5 years ago, that had dropped a little bit to 65%. And now, the most recent data says that it was less than 50. It was 47% of high school graduates are choosing to go to college afterwards.
Wow.
Which I know that might sound backwards, that's inspiring to me.
Right.
But when I take the mission of Wayfinding, which is to help people figure out what they want to do with their lives and start doing it, and not say that there's only one path to success, which typically is presented as college, that's encouraging because that means maybe more young adults are thinking, wait, maybe I have other options, or maybe I'm going to wait on college until I know really what I want to do, which I think is good. And there's a lot of companies, big name ones make it into the news, but there's a lot of small companies that are also saying, we don't need you to have a college degree to do this work. We just need to know that you know why you're doing it and how to do it and whatever. Right. And we'll train you on what we need you to know. So I don't know. It just feels like more paths are opening up. Right. So I find that inspiring.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now how about the flip side? We haven't come up with a word for this yet, but what is de-spiring you? Yeah. What's the opposite of inspiring? That would be good to know if anyone wants to email what they think the opposite. It's not because uninspiring is one thing.
No, I feel like that's just neutral. Like further. Uninspiring is just like doesn't.
Blah, right. Yeah. It's not just like We're talking about what's
like
not good
removes your inspiration.
Yeah. What is removing your inspiration right now? Because I think it's good to talk about both things.
Oh yeah. And I feel like doing this work, it is every single day both things. Like it's never just anything. Okay, so actually this is good. Because I think actually what's de-inspiring me is the same thing that I just said. Because
very zen of you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, because I feel like when you dig deeper into that data, you find that unfortunately, a larger percentage of the people who are not going to college are first-generation students, low-income students, students of color. Right. So it's disproportionately impacting those populations, and just getting access to higher education from a financial perspective, but also from like a cultural and societal perspective is just so hard, and getting harder for those populations. Like, I mean, I think we talked in the last episode about the years that matter most, and having read that book and how he breaks that all down. So I feel like it's like the same thing that is both inspiring and the opposite of that for me, because it's just not, we're harming those populations even more than we were before.
And I want to dig into that a little bit more, like in what ways, like how does that statistic show us that like the system is in fact not just not helping, but kind of actively causing harm?
So it's still, economists are saying that this is rapidly changing, that like your ability to earn money throughout your lifetime is still tied to you having a college degree or whatever. Although that is shrinking quite a bit. Okay. But the idea that you like just access to jobs, to networks, to people, to companies, to connections that can get you to things that you want to do. That's still predominantly unlocked through higher education. And so the people who are still choosing to go and can afford to go and are getting access to going are now even more and more so the upper class and upper middle class and white people generally. So they're still getting all those access points, but these other populations are getting even fewer than they had been, if that makes sense.
So it's a matter of like the gatekeepers of those benefits are in a college setting, or at least in a degree, like often in that. So like right now, that's why it's a double-edged sword, because we haven't decentralized those gatekeepers. They're not just out in society at large assisting young people. They're centralized within a college higher education system that's been very very white, very privileged, and so removing access to that, or having people not go there from a lower income setting, means that they're not getting access to that network, to those gatekeepers, to that key of unlocking higher education and job access.
And I feel like as this keeps going and it becomes more and more societally acceptable to choose paths other than a 4-year degree, then I think, and there are more people who have chosen that path and see how it benefited them, and they want to give other people, they're not going to like sort of discriminate against people who don't have a 4-year degree.
The gatekeepers won't matter as much.
Exactly. So I think ultimately this is definitely going to work in the positive in terms of more people being able to do the work they want to do without having to take on lots and lots of debt and be going into the system and depend on gatekeepers. But we're not there yet. We're like in the, I don't know, in between zone, very beginning stage. I'm not sure what to call it.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, thanks for your thoughts on that. I think that's a good conversation for people to be having right now, especially in the higher education world. Is, if it's just access to gatekeepers, why keep the system
like locked up and cost a whole bunch of money and a lot of debt? And the good news is that these articles that I'm reading, they are coming from the higher education world. Like I see them posted in things like, I'm in a Facebook group called Remaking the University. I see stuff there. The Chronicle of Higher Education is posting a lot of this kind of stuff.
That's cool.
So Inside Higher Ed. So there's a lot of, these conversations are happening there, which I think is good. whether people know what to do with the information. I get the sense that people aren't sure quite what to do with the information yet.
Yeah.
But at least the conversations are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Sure. Now I feel inspired and de-inspired for the day.
Me too.
I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
I feel mostly inspired.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'll see if I can tap into that side of it. Then, yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Maybe coffee. Oh, if we still have any.
Yeah, I know.
If there is any upstairs, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to explore. Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Ty.